one. Sheds hit the fan and we're overrun. Sending boys in the trucks with the 50 cals. Tell every swinging dick bring extra rounds. Hang in now, boys, we're on our way. Don't send them all to heaven before we get a taste. Whoa, cry havoc, let's slip the doors away. What you gonna do?
And happy Sunday to you folks. Welcome to another edition of the Double S Podcast. Hey, as a reminder, before we get going too much further, this is a recorded show. If you're commenting and I'm not replying to you, that's why. I'm not ignoring you. I may not like you, but I'm not going to tell you that. Just joking. Now, we are recorded on this because I will be getting back from some travel that I'm doing, for a birthday that I'm having that's coming up here. And so I'll be just getting back from that trip. So there's a good chance I will not be prepared and ready to go. So we decided to go ahead and do this. Plus, what's super cool is our guest tonight is coming to us all the way from across the pond. Coming from the UK, we have a very special guest that's going to be joining us here. So we wanted to record this because there's like a 6, 7, 8, something like that, hour difference between us. So we wanted to make sure that we weren't asking her to come on our show at like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, because that would be ridiculous. And so, yeah, that's why we went ahead and recorded this thing. Hey, before we get going too much further, let's go ahead and pay the bills on this. Every episode of the Double S Podcast brought to you by the Romans Warrior Foundation. Hashtag helping is healing. Go check them out, romanswarriorfoundation.org. All kinds of different ways they are bringing healing and alternative methods of support across the nation to our brothers and sisters out there. From the Global War on Terror's Wall of Remembrance to our Field Ops division that yours truly works in. We have a lot of different ways, different areas. The GWAT Wall, remember, we are the only, right now still to this date, the only mobile monument in the United States that is dedicated to the entire GWAT era. Okay, that is from 1983 forward, up to the debacle withdrawal in 21. And it's a very special thing to have the wall come into your community. If you got a big event going on and you want to take it to the next level and really bring some healing to a deserving demographic of your community, get a hold of Romans Warrior Foundation, get that GWAT wall out there. Of course, Heroes Media Group, Adam Bird, and all of the fantastic podcasts that are out there. Without Adam and that team and without our fellow podcasters out there, none of this would be possible. Sister company to Heroes Media Group is HMG Beverage. Get you some Kickstart because Gene said so. That is some awesome coffee that Adam is doing up over there. And last but not least, our little nonprofit, the True Patriot Outfitters. All right, we are fishing with a mission. I got to remember to start saying that after each one of those deals because that's our thing, man. We are fishing with a mission. That's the whole point. All right, we paid the bills here. Now look, just the resume alone on this individual I'm about to bring on the show is enough to give a guy like anxiety to try to make sure that I hit all of the things here. This is a highly skilled individual that I happened to meet on Tip of the Spear on a podcast. With the two of us were guests on there. And if you have not seen Tip of the Spear podcast, they hold a veterans roundtable at the end of each month. It's a fantastic deal. They invited me as a non-veteran into there due to the fact that we do operate in the veteran support spaces. And I was honored to be included in that. That's Brother David Willis over there that brings us in. And I had a chance to meet Miss Bagley, and yeah, this was super cool. I immediately was taken, and so I loves her approach and her answers to a few things. So I started looking into her online, and there's plenty of information out there on her career and her expertise area. And I knew immediately, hey, dude, we got to get her on the show here. And she was so gracious, she agreed. So, you ready for this? All right. So these are the ones that I'm going to read off to you here before I bring her in. She is and I'm probably not going to say this right, and she can slap me around when she gets here, when I bring her in, but she is a veteran, a UK veteran, or would it be a British veteran? I don't know how they say that, so I'll have to ask her when I bring her in here. But she is a military veteran, former teacher, current psychotherapist, hypnotherapist, an international speaker. She's a podcast host of a fantastic podcast, and a business coach. And probably the most important factors here, she is a cat mom to 3 cats, 1 dog named Lucy, and a husband at home. All right, and she just went black on my screen here. So here's the other piece before we bring her back in, before I get her in here to the show. They live in a forest over there. I'm like, as soon as she told me that, I'm like, a magical forest? They live in a forest, and they got a storm brewing right now on Halloween night here, because it's about 8 or 9 o'clock their time right now, PM. So her connection might be a little sketchy. It might bounce in and out. So we may have to pause recording here and there, and then we'll bring her in. So you just stick with us here. The beauty of this is it's a recording, and we'll be able to do it seamlessly. So let's take a look and see where she's at. All right, as promised, we're going to go ahead and bring Pippa into the show now. Miss Pippa, how the heck are you?
I'm very well, Dean. Thank you ever so much for having me and for such a very humbling introduction as well. Thank you ever so much for that.
Hey, no worries. I tie knots for a living, Pippa, so when I see someone with your resume, I'm just, wow.
Having done some sailing, tying knots is harder than people think, in fairness. A good knot goes a long way.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Well, listen, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show here, and happy Halloween, as we said before. You guys get many kids out in the woods there coming by your place, or no?
No, we're on the edge, so you really have to know us and want to come to us to come for us for Halloween. So it's not too bad. But in the town centre, so we live on the edge of the town, on the outskirts of this forest. In the town centre, they have a fun fair, although it's unfortunately stormy weather, so I don't know how busy it's going to be. But
right,
so big over here is in the US and Venice.
That's what I was reading. Is that it's slowly gaining popularity, but yeah,
it's an acquired taste.
Awesome. Hey, during the introduction, I was stumbling over this. So you are a military veteran. Now so here it'd be a U.S. veteran. Is it a UK veteran? Is it a British veteran? How do you say it there?
Either is correct. So you're stumbling on the nuances of what the UK / England / the Great Britain is called. British veteran is absolutely correct. I am English mostly. I served in the British Army. And we are part of Great Britain, and we're part of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. That's the UK part. So,
gotcha.
I am pretty much as English as they come.
That's awesome. That is so. And to show you how just backwoods I am, when you said you lived in a forest, I immediately like a magical forest, because everything's mystical over there to those of us.
Actually, so I don't know if you or your kids when they're growing up liked Harry Potter, but Harry Potter was filmed in the forest I live in. Star Wars has been filmed here. It is it does serve as a magical forest for many films. So you're not entirely wrong, but when you live here as a normal person, all you do is you get all the tourists, and you're like, oh, another tourist. Oh. As you do, forgetting how privileged you are to have that experience. So
that's so cool. That's so cool. We in 2017, we took a trip to, was it 2018? We took a trip to Scotland and spent 10 days there and got to go all the way around the entire country. It was just amazing. Such a beautiful country over there.
Yeah. I'm originally from the northeast of England. So when I was a child, I spent a lot of time in Edinburgh because it was just over the border from us. And Scotland, it's just, to be honest, despite being very English, I live on the Welsh border. I spend a lot of time in Scotland. My heritage is actually Irish. So all the countries of the UK, apart from England, are places I love very much.
You got it all together. Yeah, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
Well, this is super cool. So let's go ahead and let's just dive into some of these things here. So I was explaining off air that what where we operate is in that outdoor recreational space, right? It's our objective to improve overall quality of life and to do our part to help improve general mental health well-being.
Yep. Sorry, my dog's just got hold of a dog toy and I didn't say the squeaking.
Lucy wants to be on the air, right? See, I've done my homework. I know it's Lucy.
It is Lucy. And she's like, oh, why are you down here on camera? I know, I'll bring the noisiest toy I can find and instruct the thing. There we go. Here's the dog and here's the toy.
That is awesome. Lucy likes to go hiking and likes to get out and, adventure, it looks like.
Definitely. And swimming as well. She's very,
nice.
But on the topic of outdoors, so yes.
Is she a Labradoodle?
She's a Labradoodle, yes.
Yeah.
She's definitely a Labradoodle. I know her parents. I also think they slipped a kangaroo in there somewhere because she just senses so much. It is not normal, I'm sure. But balancing is her happy.
Got springs in her legs, part Tigger. Awesome. Good stuff. So let's go ahead and let's start in the area of what exactly is the field of psychotherapy?
So it's a very broad church, to be honest. Sorry.
You're fine.
Right, I'll put that one there. There we go. No more squeaky unicorn. Yeah. Psychotherapy is a very broad church. So it really dates back to sort of the work of Sigmund Freud, which I'm sure everyone's very much aware of, and sort of analysing the subconscious and what's going on underneath there. Now, modern therapy is a very broad church as well. So back in the day, you'd look at the likes of Freud, of Jung, and you'd kind of, I don't know if you can hear that from my cats now.
This is fantastic. We are called the Double S, Pippa, okay? It's a shit show, all right? And that is, our viewers are well trained for this, so you fear not. You are right at home here.
For those who don't know, obviously, before we started this, I was having connection problems because we were in the middle of a storm. So normally I'm upstairs in the office, but I've come downstairs because it's close to the router. And of course, all the animals are just coming because it's nighttime and everyone's just kicking off. It's just pandemonium. There we go. Psychotherapy dates back to the likes of Sigmund Freud, but it's moved on a lot since then. The sort of work that I do is around what we call solution-focused outcomes. Yeah. So back in the day, usually you had to go and visit all your problems. So Freud is a classic of like, it's your mother, it's a dream, it's all sex. And there are still lines of therapy that involve that, and that's still an important part of therapy for some people. Although the obsession with the mother complex is a bit unhealthy, but that's a different problem. With modern psychotherapy, though, we want to move you forward. We want to get you unstuck. And a lot of this is tied into the work around neuroscience, which is also a very new area of science for us. It's in the last 10 years really evolved. And that's the study of the brain, how it works, the chemicals and patterns that go in there. So by looking at solutions-focused therapy, what we're doing, instead of going, let's get hung up over what happened, let's try and find a solution to move you forward. Now, sometimes you do need to go forward, but actually a lot of times people don't want to go back anymore. And traditional therapy encourages a lot of talking. And particularly like with veterans, you're not always predisposed to talk a lot about stuff that has happened.
Yeah.
You have to feel safe, you have to feel comfortable, and you have to have what we call a therapeutic alliance. So I work with moving forward, finding solutions, and not dwelling unless it's something that they want to do to work through. Does that all make sense?
Yeah, 100%. You know, one of the first stories I was told from a few of the vets, as I said in the intro, I'm not a veteran myself, and as much as I would love to understand more what they go through for the purpose of serving, I know that there's only so much I can, grasp. And so I stay in my lane when it comes to that. But one of the things that I was taught from day one is that the issues that many of our vets encounter at the VA when they're trying to get help is in the area of they go in, they meet their therapist. It takes, like you said, there has to be trust built there. So it takes some time going in, multiple visits before that trust gets built up. They get the trust built up and they start to share more of their experience and their time and such. And then they come in the next week, next month for their session, and it's a new therapist because of that revolving door at the VA. And it starts all over again for them. And we're talking, this was a 4 to 6 month maneuver here. And now they got to start all over again, tell their story, try to get that trust built up again. And you're right. They just, a lot of these guys and gals are just done with going backwards. They want to talk about maintenance. They want to talk about management. They want to talk, I don't know if it's the same there in the UK, but there's been a push. It's continuing to be a push here to get the D dropped off of PTSD. They refer to it as PTS, and it's because in the short layperson reason for that is it's not a disorder. You can't unsee what you've seen. You can't undo what you've done. Now we have to learn how to live with this being a part of us. You know what I mean? And so they don't like that stigmatism of it being some sort of, disorder of some kind. And so that was the push.
I think it's a really interesting push. Like I said, you can't unsee what you've seen.
Yep.
And the VA, and similar with the UK system, all these things are overstretched. We're seeing a massive rise in mental health challenges within the community, partly because of the time served. So, Afghanistan, 20 years, we've now finished that. There are people who are leaving the forces who are only now processing what actually happened. And there's a rifles barracks down the road from me, and the rifles in particular, obviously infantry's, they are running hot on sort of suicide issues because, this just the time served, it's kind of the brain has had time to process. I also think we have to be careful about labels as well. PTSD, PTS, whatever we want to call it, it is a very real thing. Many veterans do suffer it in different forms. People who aren't veterans, as you know, suffer from it as well. But with modern neuroscience and psychotherapy, there are solutions to help people work through these. Nice. And the thing about the brain and about memories is that actually memories are made up. It's an image created of an event at a time that's recreated by the brain and replayed. And these can be manipulated. So in somebody who is really struggling with their mental well-being, you're going to see all the worst elements come out. And that's the post-traumatic emerging. You're going to see them questioning, because I've done more, what happened, and reliving it again and again and again. Thanks to the wonders of neuroscience, we know that we can reprogram that memory, because memories are just a collection of electrical chemical responses in the brain. We can reprogram that so the effect is less, or so actually you change the memory. If you take, for example, when I was 22, I lived in Russia. I was studying Russian at the time. I got hit by a car and I woke up in hospital, as one does. For a long time, like cars would trigger, like screeching cars would trigger a reaction in me, because obviously at the time I didn't see it coming. I don't remember it, but I'd started to form a memory of this happening. Now, I can't tell you if that memory is real or not, because literally I was unconscious for so long and I had amnesia when I woke up and all sorts of fun stuff. But what I can do now is reprogram that memory in a way that is completely neutral to me. And it's the same with any phobia. So you can just rewire the brain so that the memory holds no power. It's neutral. And that's a really, really great outcome.
Wow.
You can't get rid of it altogether, because there's always been some sort of chemical, electrical stimulation going on in the brain to create these memories. But you can just embed a new way of thinking about it, a new neural pathway that goes, okay, I now feel nothing. But to do that, you need the trust. You need the right approach. And also, one size does not fit all. Right. My biggest frustration in the UK is with the NHS mental health programme, and I love the NHS because obviously I'm British, but you have to do what's called cognitive behavioural therapy first. And that's a really great, powerful therapy for a certain kind of person, but not for everybody. And you need to have the flexibility to find the right path for you. And The great news is, I said, therapy is a really broad church, and it shouldn't matter what kind of therapy. Like, that's why I'm not keen on labels. It doesn't matter what the problem is. It doesn't matter what the solution is, as long as it works for the individual.
I love it.
But when you're trying to do one size fits all, though, people are going to fall for the cracks. And when you're trying to push them through on a timetable and the funding's not there, or people change, or even like therapists aren't paid enough in some cases, it resets every time. So the psychotherapy I work with is trying to, 3 months move you forward, not 3 years.
Wow. Some of the things you just talked about, the reprogramming memories and stuff. I mean, this is like stuff from sci-fi. I mean, when I was a kid, I'm pretty sure Tom Cruise did a movie on this once, somewhere in there, that was a concept that was considered to be just so outlandish, but now it's, absolutely. Is this also kind of maybe the pathway, this type of ideology? Ideology is the wrong word. This study, this field of study, is this what has opened the doors for psychedelic use and such
Absolutely.
as well?
Yeah. I mean, there is really big work going on currently. In fact, the US is probably leading the way on some of this stuff.
Nice.
But again, we used to believe that the brain was fixed, so that you were what you were. Like, old dogs can't learn new tricks, that old saying.
Yeah.
We know that's not true, both in dogs and in humans. We just need to present it in a way which is doable. And neuroscience is, for me personally, I'm like a massive neuroscience nerd, but it is the foundation of the way that we can do that, because by understanding the different chemical reactions in the brain, understanding the different neurotransmitters in the brain and how they send signals around, you can create a pathway. But you can do that without even understanding that. And that's the great thing as well about the right therapy approach, is for the person receiving it, you don't necessarily have to understand the science as long as it works for you.
Right.
And again, the psychedelics are just a way of opening up these neural pathways in another way. The challenge, though, the ethical responsibility is to do it wisely. So just as you can rewire the brain to think about something in a neutral way, you can also implant memories. You can also create scenarios not there. And that's where you see these cases. And I'll talk about rape was one which is really underreported and under prosecuted anyway.
Right.
But you also have cases where people have been kind of almost led down the path of, I have been raped, when they haven't, or vice versa. No, you weren't, or you were compliant. And so having these tools is a massive ethical responsibility. And that's also why, from a therapeutic point of view, you've got to be careful about who you are going to, because you can go online these days. I mean, I've got a clinical hypnotherapy qualification. I did that in clinical hours and, in a classroom lecture setting, and I did lots of practice. But you can also get the same qualification online and never see a person for real, or never do the work that I've chosen to do to go down that path. And so, I mean, and on one hand, again, I go back to, if it works for somebody, that's great. But you just have to be very, very careful with how you're addressing this, who you're working with, and that therapeutic alliance and their ethics behind what they're doing.
See, that resonates so much with me. I believe in anything that is associated with your well-being. This time last year, I was 256 pounds. Since last year to this current date, I'm now 216. I've got myself, 40 pounds down, and it wasn't from some fad diet. It wasn't from some pill or some pharmaceutical. It was me taking a vested interest in what the hell I was eating. Mm-hmm. I stopped putting garbage in my body. Right. And now it does. Yes, it takes work. You got to do the research. You gotta read labels, man. And all of a sudden I find myself, I told myself I didn't want to get into that old man thing of having, a pill counter type thing, but I do now, because I don't take medications. I take supplements because I want to make sure I'm getting the right things I need, and no, I'm not a spring chicken, but I'm also not an old guy yet. I'm 53. That's, I'm still all right.
You've got another 40 years to go, at least.
Oh, let's hope that's the name of the game. But it only happened because I was willing to do the research, and just take take a driver's seat in this process, as opposed to looking for the fast, quick, just show me what I need to do, tell me what I need to take. No, I go through the grocery store now with my readers on, because I'm reading the backs of everything, going, okay, I don't even need to bother with this aisle any longer, because nothing in there should be food. It should not be in this grocery store right now. And so, yeah, so that makes total sense. When you're looking for people, you gotta do the research on them and make sure that their philosophies of solution matches kind of what you're trying to get, or maybe they can complete that sentence for you, in a way, type deal. So yeah, and that's clearly where the hypnotherapist comes into play, right? I could see how that when you're looking for solution and working down that same road.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, hypnotherapy is one of those things that people have a lot of misconceptions about. You have, staged hypnotherapy, which is very much for the entertainment, and there is sadly no therapeutic value in making someone cluck like a chicken. But also the thing with hypnotherapy is you can't do what you wouldn't actually be relaxed doing. And that's
Right.
people need to be concerned. So if you think about when you're driving down the freeway and you suddenly realize that you can't remember the last hour of your journey.
Yeah.
That is a trance state. That is what happens in hypnotherapy. So you're in total control the whole time. Your subconscious is taken over. And that is true clinical hypnotherapy, which anyone can do.
That's scary.
Because
I will. All of a sudden, I'll look around and going, oh my God, I know I just went through 3 lights and I don't remember a single one of them. I hope I stopped.
It's scary, but also there's a certain amount of, but actually I'm okay.
Yeah.
So my subconscious has taken over. It knows what to do. I'm just in the flow of driving. And when you suddenly see someone brake in front of you and the red lights pop up and suddenly you're in the zone again. You're in that mindful state. Mm-hmm. That's your subconscious going, right, time to be conscious about this now, because someone in front of you is suddenly jamming their brakes on and you need to do something about this as well.
That's a holy shit moment is what that is. Finding the binders in a hurry there. That's awesome. That is awesome. The international speaker part. So is that primarily on your business side, or is that also in the clinical side of the work that you do as well?
It's been both. So I started off. If you haven't, I've had some other conversations with colleagues from the tip of the spear, but a lot of what I do, I just do to see what happens, and then it kind of comes.
I love it.
Back in, I think it was 2017, and I also done a lot of program management in my corporate life, and I applied to speak at a conference on agile methodologies in Detroit, and I got accepted. I applied on a complete whim, accepted, turned up, and I thought, well, if I go to Detroit, I know no one there. No one knows me. So if I'm terrible, it doesn't matter. Wasn't terrible. So it went okay. And since then, I've just started slowly getting different speaking gigs in other places. I was supposed to speak at Hypno Thoughts in Las Vegas in July, which I had to pull out because my dad's not been very well. But that was the most recent one I was due to do. But partly it's basically, I like to travel. So if someone can pay me to travel and then talk about stuff that I love talking about, this is a win for me in every aspect possible.
Love it.
That's what I do.
I love the manifestation there, because that's really what that is. It's chasing things that you love. And yeah, if you can share information or a passion that you have, and you see it help somebody, man, there's very few things that are as fulfilling as that, at least in my opinion.
Absolutely. And I think, this is why, the work that you do is so important, though, because it is sharing the passion, sharing the platform for people to do this. And I have a podcast as well. It's called Journey to Purpose. And for me, everything is about trying to figure out your purpose. Like, what do I want to be when I grow up?
Exactly.
I've got another 50, 60 years to figure that out. But and to do that, though, I just say yes. And it's taken me down some fascinating paths. Everything from joining the army, serving Afghanistan, to where I am now. And I have I don't think I really have any regrets in my life as a result of this, because even if something worked out, I've given it a go and I've gone, do you know what, that's not for me. So my shortest job was working for Deloitte, the consultancy company. And it was 6 months. And I was like, I am not cut out for this corporate life. It just doesn't suit me at all. I don't like making PowerPoints. So let's just part our ways. But at the time, it felt like the pinnacle of my career because it was Deloitte. And in the UK, they're known as one of the big four, it's called. And they approached me because some work I'd done elsewhere. And I was like, I must have arrived. And it turned out it wasn't where I thought it should be. But that's okay, because now I know.
I love it. I through my entire 20s and most of my 30s, I was chasing the dollar, if you will. I grew up with a single mother that had never graduated high school. I think ninth grade was the farthest she made. So she was working 1-2 jobs most of the time with my brother and I. So we did, I knew Goodwill really well. Rarely ever did we ever have government assistance. My mother was too proud for that. She would get a second job, to make sure, but we didn't have, much of anything. We grew up in trailer parks, right? That was the deal. And so when I hit that stage of being out on my own, it was, dude, I will not live like that again. I am going to go see what the other side looks like. And I'll tell you what, I got there in my 30s and I realized, well, shit, this is still the same thing as what it was before, just more zeros behind it is all. And so it took me, it was, I guess I want to say it was like my mid 30s when I had what most would call, the midlife thing. And it just, I went back to school and said, I'm going to get my degree. I'm going to do these things. I became a first responder, and so, yeah, you reach that point. Just because you're good at something doesn't mean you love it. Right.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah. So that's so cool.
I love what you've done, because I think it takes a lot of guts to change direction in your life. And I joke that I've changed careers every decade, and it's probably kind of true. But particularly now more than ever, there's a lot of uncertainty in the world. I hear that you guys over the pond are having some interesting times. That is actually what's wrong with personally. You're all having interesting times, and I think we know now why that is a curse. But stability is important to everybody, and stability looks like different things to different people, and it can be finances, and we've got to all be honest about this. We all need money. Yep. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with wanting money, because we all need it. But trying to mar up the basic needs, Maslow's hierarchy of needs: shelter, food, comfort, these days Wi-Fi, marrying that up with having purpose, feeling good about yourself, serving your community, whatever makes you tick. It's not actually straightforward to find.
Exactly.
And in the military, we think we have it, and we do to a certain extent, because you form that brotherhood, sisterhood of shared collective perseverance, shared collective struggling. But when you leave, or if you haven't had that experience, how do you do this? And the only way to do it is to take that leap of faith, like you did. But it takes a lot of bravery in this day and age to do that, I think.
It does, and it focuses around what you just said, the mission and the purpose, right? I mean, when we're always looking for that. Why am I here? What's my purpose? I knew what it was back then. Now, what is it? If I'm going to redefine, talking about specifically that transition out of service to civilian life, that's such a major deal. I try to explain this to my civilian friends by saying, think about this. We take 8 weeks to bring them in, and then bless you. And then, basically 3 days to send them on their way, and they get given some information going, here's some resources, call these places, see ya, and I know it's maybe more entailed than that, but at the end of the day, it's not as robust of an outtake as it is an intake, and
absolutely.
The numbers that we see of our brothers and sisters over here losing the fight here at home are disgusting. And it's just, to me, it's this horn going off of an issue that, in my opinion, is systemically across this nation, and I believe across the entire civilized world, and that is of a complete degradation of mental health. And I do believe 100% this is right at the cause of it. The algorithms, how we perceive things. We know better. We know we shouldn't trust this, but for whatever reason, we just can't stop, and it just keeps coming at us. And unfortunately, when you get people that are already in a tough spot, man, it just compounds that even more.
Absolutely. I mean, so the reason it works so well is, again, to do with your brain. And the dopamine that it creates, dopamine is a feel-good drug that it creates in your brain, going every time you scroll through, every time you have that short instant burst. But of course, the more you do it, the less effective it comes. Like any real life drug user, the more you use the drug, the more you need to get the same effect.
Wow.
And these tools, particularly social media, are designed to keep feeding you that dopamine hit. I mean, if you, from a marketing point of view, I run a business. It used to be like 3 minutes was the target for keeping people interested. Now it's like 90 seconds. It'll be 30 seconds. It'll be 5 seconds. And that's because we've got so much of this drug from the social media skimming through. I mean, I have a VA who does all my social media, and I literally go on social media for 10 minutes a day now just to reply to any comments that are personal to me. And then I try to shut it down. But sometimes I do better than others because I do also have lots of like cute, fluffy animals on my social media, and that's very, very addictive. We've all been there.
Yes.
And that's part of the trick, right? So, and I try to keep everything I have. I've actually, as a former intelligence analyst, I hardly ever look at the news now because, again, firstly, you've got the 24-hour news cycle. Well, it tends to be the same things for 24 hours, even though there's lots of things going on in the world. So I try to control that. It's an active, conscious decision. But I tell you what, in the morning, my first instinct is pick this up. At nighttime, I'm bored. I'm in a train. I'm whatever. You pick this up. And unlike back in the day before we all had this, where my instinct was actually go to pick up a book. A book doesn't harm your brain the way that this does. That this is far more easy to get into. It's more satisfying. It's a really quick hit. And we're all, and as you say, as a result of this, it is exacerbating the issues we have around mental well-being.
Yeah.
And we are more connected, but more alone than ever before. But thanks to this.
Isn't that, I mean, what a powerful statement. We're more connected, but yet still more alone than we ever have been. Yeah, that's, and that's one of the things that the outdoor space that I love so much is that there's a fear of, especially with what we do, which is kayak fishing. Okay. We have specific kayaks that are designed for fishing. They're sit on top. You don't get in them. We're not going down rivers and whitewater. We have electric motors on these things. You sit on them and you go fishing with us. That's what we do. And people are worried they're going to drop their phone in the water. And I am the first one to go, yep, better leave it in the truck. Just leave it. I'll bring mine because I'll get pictures with it. That's all I'm doing. All my family knows when I'm out that if they call me, I know it's got to be an emergency at that point. And so, yeah, it's one of those things that it kind of forces you to hyper focus. Kayak fishing requires 50% of your attention on your craft to make sure you're not going in the drink. And the other 50% of your time is hunting that fish, right? And so it really offers kind of a unique, intimate experience with the outdoors. And it's one of the reasons we chose that. When we started, we had a boat, a bass boat, and people loved it. Big glittery, $90,000 boat sitting here. People are like, oh my gosh, too much fun. What we realized is, this is fun and expensive. And I can only take basically one person at a time. We can get with a lot more cost affordable, and it's a different, more, I think, immersive experience with the kayak, type deal, which is why we went that way. Mental health well-being. Wanted to just get your opinions on this. So again, I stay in my lane, but there's a couple aspects of improved mental health well-being. Is number one is getting challenges, learning new skills. So we try to always include that on our trips. A sense of the bonding and the camaraderie. We always try to build that. We always ask at the beginning of every trip, do any of you want me to keep my kid filter on? because I have a real bad potty mouth, and I always like to make sure that everybody's cool with that. Because when I start talking to you like a friend of mine, yep, I'm going to use a lot of expletives in the process. But if, as long as we get that rapport going immediately, the other side is physical activity. Our bodies are meant to be in motion, man. They need to keep moving to keep the brain bucket healthy and to keep moving. In that realm of there, what is your experience tied with that when it comes to just that the basic things, the self-maintenance things that we can do to give us a better chance at having a healthy well-being?
First of all, I think everything you just talked about is brilliant and exactly the right stuff. If we break it down, so why do we move? Well, we move because it connects us to the world around us. Our bodies are designed to move, like you say, but also it gets the blood pumping. Blood goes to the brain, gets the brain working well. And so movement stimulates both the body and the brain, although we might not realize it. So even a walk does that. And I think when people worry about the movement side of things, they think it has to be, a really intense workout at the gym, or it needs to be like, HIIT classes or 10-mile hikes. But honestly, just going outside, not having anything in your ears and listening, you are getting the blood flowing, you are getting the muscles working, and you are being mindful if you're not listening to any music around you. So that those three things are all a really good starting point. And studies have shown if you commit to even 10 minutes a day for like 2 to 3 weeks of just going outside doing that, straight away, you'll see results in 2 to 3 weeks.
Wow.
The other aspects you talk about, the connection is so important. And I have this is my perennial kind of struggle that I think we all have, is autonomy versus connection. So the autonomy part is I want to do what I want to do, when I want to do it, how I want to do it. But by doing that, sometimes I lose out on connection.
Right.
And I think the pandemic showed most of us that we're not hermits. We might be introverted, we might need that recharge time, but actually too much time on our own is not good for us. And so each person has a different balance of what connection versus autonomy looks like. But we fundamentally as humans need connection, no matter what we think. There's very few people in the world who can remain completely isolated and remain healthy. And they are the exception, not the norm. And so what you do, taking people out together and building those connections in a physical way as well, you're tapping into all sorts of chemicals in the body, that the love chemicals, the oxytocin, the endorphin, again, dopamine's back in the picture, by building those connections and by doing physical things. But we just need to remember that connection is so important to our well-being. And that's why the pandemic was so bad for our well-being, because it isolated so many people. And physical connection is also so important. And it doesn't mean getting out on every night. It just means like a hug is enough to activate the oxytocin. And oxytocin just tells you you're safe, you're protected, you're loved. It makes you feel good. And it just stimulates the brain again to make you feel better about yourself.
In the pandemic, that was, reading your website, that was kind of a motivator for you to retool, re-gear, change gears, and it sent you down a new path, didn't it?
Absolutely. I was working in government at the time, and I saw a lot of my colleagues really, really struggling. And it made me want to investigate more. And I'll be honest with you, if you told me 5-10 years ago that I would end up doing therapy, you're like, whatever. Therapy, who needs therapy? It's all made up. It's all like woo-woo crazy shit.
No kidding.
Just because, but also, again, I'm not to say it's the military mindset, but I've always been someone very independent, works hard, and to be honest, my answer has been shit happens, work harder. That has been the answer for most part, and that's worked for me. Right?
Rub some dirt on it, pull your boots up, get back to work.
Yeah. Big girl pants, all be fine. But in reality, and on reflection, I was wrong anyway. But on reflection, there are many times when actually therapy might have helped me transition to where I was faster. So one prime example is when I came back from Afghanistan. I was what's called an individual augmentee. So I went out, not as part of a unit, I was dropped into a unit I didn't know. I was an intelligence analyst. I was dropped into the artillery, who were lovely. And that in itself wasn't a problem. But when I came home, I was on my own again. I didn't come home with anybody from that I'd served with. I went back to my unit, which because with the intelligence corps, you often get attached to different units and do whatever you need to do. So although people had also gone to Afghanistan or gone to Iraq or done those things, they hadn't been with me in those moments. So when I returned to base, all my guys were down in the south of England, and I was up in the north of England with nobody who'd experienced what we'd experienced.
Oh, wow.
And it was a transition period that I had to go through. And I think one of the things for me was, one of my jobs was to look at IEDs. So I did a lot of analysis of past and Overwatch and looking at first special forces as they went on exercise. And I started to see IED signs everywhere I went. So improvised explosive devices. So I kept like cracks in pavement, or sidewalks in American English, cracks in sidewalks. That was like an IED sign. Cracks in this wall, that could be, and it would be for a moment, and I go, no, I'm in the UK, it's fine. But I had to keep doing that. I had to keep checking myself, going, no, it's fine. And I remember it wasn't until probably like 9 months later that I felt like I was back to myself again. Because I had no one to talk to, or I felt I couldn't talk to anybody about what I experienced, what I'd done, what we'd been through. And actually therapy might have helped.
Oh, absolutely. A very good friend of mine in the U.S. Army here, he talked about a very similar situation that he encountered, because one of the things that he and a few of his friends were in charge of is, obviously you were trained to notice differences, right? You travel this road, umpteen times. And so, wait a minute, that bottle was not there yesterday or 3 hours ago. Now there's a bottle there. And he said it took quite a while to, the anxiety that comes the moment you spot something like that, because it's a high alert, that right now we've got a threat now. We've got an issue. It could just been somebody was a piece of shit and threw garbage out the window on their drive, but to you it's something completely different, and that's I can't even begin to think what that has to feel like. So holy crap, that's that's pretty powerful stuff. And isn't it right that what you're talking about there is finding people of similar walks, right, that have similar experience. One of the things we try to do is be that conduit on these trips. We want to see if we can, if it isn't a person and their friend coming along, and I'm bringing people that don't know each other, I have to do really good vetting to make sure that these people are going to line up well and can actually, unbeknownst to them, they'll be benefiting each other quite a bit by being around each other. So we have to kind of really go through that.
It's a balance, and it's a real skill that I know you'll have because of making it the right group. With the military, there is a certain understanding, I think, where you go. So the UK, just like the US, we take the piss out of each other. So my last unit was a tri-service unit, which means I had Army, Navy, and RAF, Royal Air Force in there. And I joke, I've got like an RAF mum, and I've got a Navy mum, and I've got an Army mum. And the same like dads and uncles and all the rest of it.
Right.
But we also joke that obviously the Army's better than the RAF, and the Navy's better than the RAF and the Army, and all that banter. So you have that as a baseline to work from.
Yep.
But you can kind of have a common enemy in yourselves for banter purposes. But then also having, if you've been to Afghanistan, you've been to Afghanistan. So there's certain appreciation of, some shit went down there in different places, and people feel different variations of it. We all probably lost someone that we knew. And so you have that shared understanding as well. One of the misconceptions, though, is that if you're in the military, you like everybody else in the military. And quite frankly, there are some people in the military who I think are wankers, and they probably think that I'm a wanker, and that's absolutely fine. So getting the right mix does require some challenges. But even with all that, you do have these shared experiences, or basic training, the shared experience of that, the shared experience of coming to a new unit. So there's a lot of similarities that the military have, regardless of cap badge, regiment, service, that you can pull on and give you an underlying base of trust.
I love it.
Which is really powerful. And And like you say, it's hard to explain to somebody who hasn't been in a war zone why you're freaked out by a Coke bottle on the side of the road suddenly appearing out of nowhere.
Yep.
And that's where the common understanding comes in. And sometimes you don't even have to like the person, though. Like he says, I might still think someone's a wanker, but actually but actually I know you get me on this particular issue.
Yep.
And that's enough for now.
Yeah. We were just talking about this the other night. We had I've got a couple consultants that have been helping me a tremendous amount. I love these guys, pair of Army combat vets, and they've been consulting and helping us with our nonprofit. And one of the things we talked about was that look, I'm not saying that every vet and every first responder that we meet are good people through and through. Okay. A lot of these people, I would not invite them over to my house, but you know what? If they need a trip to get outdoors, we're here. I'm okay with that. As long as they're not an a-hole when we take them out to anybody around us or whatever, then yeah. But yeah, it isn't just a punch free pass card type thing to be there. But at the same note, we're there to serve, right? And that's, there's a difference there. And while I don't have it from a military, I do find the similarities to that type of mentality from the first responder side. My time with the dive rescue team is that, no, we were all volunteer there, and 100% we're putting our lives in each other's hands before we're jumping into, class 3 rapids to pull some drunk college kid off a rock, that got stuck out there. We got to go get him. I'm counting on the person that I may or may not know downstream. In case I wash out, I need them to pick me out of there, and get me out of that situation. So yeah, there's a trust that you got to establish. Well, let's talk about real quick, because now on the other side of this, plus two things. Number one, one of the most British things I've ever heard is referring to artillery folks as lovely. That is fantastic. I absolutely love that. Somewhere a few of my Marine brothers out there are smiling right now. They're like, yes, we are lovely.
On that point though, so obviously I'm female, I was intelligence corps. I mentally prepared myself for them to hate me because they didn't know me. And for the first month they gave me hell. And what was even worse, actually, I was in Bastion, the main British camp, and we had a repatriation ceremony. So when our departed gets sent home, and I passed out on our very first one. I hadn't acclimatized to Afghanistan. So of course, everybody knew that the only female intelligent analyst had passed out at the first repatriation ceremony.
Oh my gosh.
I've been there for like a week, and I was like, my God, I'm going to never live this down. But do you know what? Apart from that, so they tried to see if I would cry. They tried to see if I'd break, but stuff that I get in the army, and there's a different conversation whether that's appropriate or not. For me, I loved the game, right? It wasn't an issue for me. And once they knew that I wasn't going to let them down, they had my back. In fact, I had a friend passing through who was infantry, and came to see me in my tent, as it were. They're like, "Who's that? How do you know him?" Like proper protective brothers.
Love it.
So they are lovely, absolutely lovely.
That is fantastic. The other thing I wanted to say is, now we're going to get into the business side of this. I wanted to talk about this briefly and get your opinion on a couple things here. And good night. You do not. So whatever you're doing, I need to find out what it is, what you eat, what you drink, because you are way too young to have done all of these things. I'm over here, Pippa, aging like milk. Okay. I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong here, but my goodness, the experience you have for somebody who is clearly much younger than I am. That's impressive stuff.
I am in my 40s. So.
And you don't even, yeah. No, I would not have guessed that. So that's, you're doing something right there. Let's talk about Honeycomb Business Solutions. Still running, still active?
Yeah, so I do contracting under this.
Okay.
So I trained in sort of IT specialist, like similar to you.
Yeah.
When I came, just to basically have jobs. So my very first job in corporate was actually for a lovely company I'm sure you've heard of, called Lockheed Martin.
My goodness, yes.
And I had a great time working for them and learned a lot from them in the UK. And essentially I did that, and then I went independent for some contracting work. But I was going to stop doing it so I could focus fully on therapy. But essentially I still do program management, consulting and delivery of, and I specialize in sort of complex scientific and IT projects that usually when they're broken, I get brought in to like unbreak them, which is quite nice. But there's two reasons for doing that. One is mentally I do get bored, so I need a challenge from time to time. Careful what you wish for though. But also I can offer a lot of free therapy without worrying about it. So I'm not dependent on my therapy income. So if people come to me and need stuff, so I know like in tip of the spear, we had someone ask for help, and I said, look, if they want it, they can come to me for therapy and I don't have to charge. And that gives me the ability to do both those things.
Wow. You know, and project management is right in the main of your area. And you had talked about agile earlier, you know, obviously, which is one of the newer age, if you will, not new anymore, but newer of project management that's out there. How much is AI affecting this field specifically in project management right now?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
So I think it depends on what kind of project management you're doing. So because the work I do tend to be government contracts, there is a bit of an AI ban on that work. And so there's still a need for humans. However, I will use AI to get me from what I call 0 to 1. So if I'm really just struggling, I'll go, hey, AI, how do I do this thing? Or give me some examples, and it'll get me my brain working.
Yeah.
However, I mean, this is a really interesting conversation also around ethics of AI and everything else as well. To me, I think it's been, the AI companies have stated that their objective with a lot of these bots is to replace humans. And you see it going down that pathway. And for, you know, digital marketing, for example, you could probably automate a lot of that using AI and some clever APIs and just get, you know, that scheduling automated and get a standard generic plan. And that can save you lots of time. To me, there are two types of project managers. There are the spreadsheet project managers, and there's the people project managers. And I think if you're a spreadsheet project manager, that means like you probably have the best paperwork. This is not me, by the way. You have the best paperwork.
Same, yeah.
You're up to everything all the time. Your rack statuses, your risk logs, all the paperwork is perfect. But your project is probably in shit because you haven't talked to your people, you haven't brought them on a journey, and you haven't communicated things. But I think AI could take over that aspect quite easily.
Yep.
With tweaks and the way it's going. But the part I think people underestimate around delivery of anything is people are the key.
Yes.
And AI can help us augment capability. It can help us improve turnaround times. But in my mind, and obviously I'm biased, but I believe we still need people.
Yep.
And I also think we're really at a danger with AI where it's going to start eating its own poop, basically, because it's been sucking up all of the internet. Wonderful. But now the internet is just spewing out more AI. So we're going to get to the point where it's like self-fulfilling prophecy of what's going in is the same as what's coming out, and there's no creativity. And so I think, I think we haven't got to that point yet. But I think we'd like to reach that point and have to do a reset and go, okay, so how do we want to be? Like, how do we preserve the good part of AI, which is, taking rid of all the mandrolic stuff we don't want to do and getting us from 0 to 1. But how do we do that and preserve our creativity and be original, and still be unique? And that's the risk of AI, not just for project management, for anything in my mind. So mandrolic stuff, I'm sure AI could do it, but when it comes to people, it's connection again. You still need people, and good programs rely on good communication and governance, which is a people thing.
Three things to that. First and foremost, I hope when I generate clips of this podcast, it catches that AI is about to start eating its own poop. I hope that lies in there, because that, I think, might just go viral, and that might put you over the edge here, I think. And I absolutely love that analogy. That's so real. That you can tell the paper project managers because when you say the term buy-in, team buy-in, they glass over like, well, I don't understand what you mean. What is this term you use? It's called ownership of a project. If you want people to actually care what they're doing, man, and you won't have to ask them to work extra hours. They'll do it because they care and they want a piece of this. And you're not going to get that from paper or systems. You're going to get that from people talking one-on-one, and that interaction. I couldn't agree more. I use AI as much as I am from the Terminator generation. Okay. I know what Skynet's up to, right? So I'm using a lot of please and thank yous with Claude. Me and Claude,
yeah.
Claude and I are on good terms. He good mornings me. I good morning him. Things are good there.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for your consideration. Absolutely. Yeah.
When you go to annihilate, leave me alone, please.
Yeah. I always said please and thank you. Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, it has its purpose. Like I like you, before I start to pen something, I use it to get me started. If I've got writer's block, it's like, give me some framework, give me an outline here, Claude, talk to me about this or that. And boom, it starts me off. It's like, okay, now I can wipe this out. Now I know where to begin, and it's one of those things that just gets you rolling at least. Yeah. And then there's other things that, it can actually, you still need to go through it, but it can really lay out structure, of things. I tried using it. So another side of me is I still will occasionally jump in competitive fishing events where you compete against other people.
Sorry, I mean, I don't fish. How do you competitively fish? Like, is it who gets there fastest?
No. It's so in the kayak game, it's whoever catches the 5 longest of a specific species. Now in the boat game, it was the heaviest. Right. So in the boat game, you put them in a live well, you go back, you put them in a bag, you walk up to the scale, you measure your 5 fish, you weigh them, and whoever has the most weight wins the day, right? And you get a check and a trophy and a bunch of praise from a bunch of other salty, fishermen out there type thing. Now in the kayak game, we don't take them or any. We're far more conservation driven. We have a certified type of board, bump board that we're allowed to use. We catch them, we get them on that board in a certain way. We take a picture with this app that locks our location into play, and it does a quick scan of the fish, and the size. And so at the end of the day, when the time period's up, we get judged on the 5 longest fish that we get. So that's that's the whole competition piece there. And the last one I was in was like 180 people. I tried to use AI. I was like, all right, Claude, this is what I need to do. This is where I'm going. This is the time of year. Give me a good strategy. And I got to say, he did offer up a couple things that I was not sure of, and I went ahead and followed them. I don't feel like I did horrible, but I ended up 53rd out of, 180 anglers. So not horrible. Yeah. But at the end of the day, you still got to find them. You still got to catch them. I just said, what part of the lake's going to give me the best chance, And so, he tried to help me out with it. And I'm like, hey, they're using AI for proposals and everything. Why not use AI for this? We'll see what it does.
I mean, I do. Again, there's a real power behind it. I think what's interesting though is again, studies around the brain and well-being, that the prolonged use of AI reduces your cognitive thinking and your critical thinking.
Yep.
So the real trick for us, apart from stopping AI from eating its own poop, but it is how do we use it in a way that doesn't decrease our brain functions? Because there's a film, I can't remember what it's called, but the premise is that basically 2 idiots get put in cryogenic freezing. They wake up in the future and they're suddenly they're like geniuses in comparison, because everyone's like watering plants with soda and being absolutely crazy.
Is it Ideology? Is that the name of it? Or Idiocracy?
Idiocracy, yes.
Yes.
And this is kind of, this is like obviously again worst case scenario. But if we lose that ability to cognitively think, to critically think, to assess things, that isn't an unrealistic future. and what they're seeing is AI is being used more in universities and at schools, but the graduates are losing jobs within 6 to 9 months afterwards, because actually they can get AI to answer all the questions, but they can't do the people side. They can't do the critical thinking. They can't respond to real life emergencies. And so, there's a great opportunity with AI, but we do have to think about, again, how we keep ourselves healthy while using it.
Yeah. One of the things I mentioned to my son the other night was, I got to tell you, man, when calculators first came out and became mainstream, allowed in school, yes, I'm that old. And when that happened, I watched people, especially in the profession of accounting, I watched their ability to do math in their head go away. Because if they didn't have that 10 key there for them just to, they could type in numbers for days and never even look at the 10 key. They had that muscle memory there. But if you ask them to do some basic math or percentage, what's 20% of, such and such, they glass over. They're like, I don't have my 10 key here with me. And it's like, yeah. And so we've seen it. Mine was spelling because of autocorrect. Oh my Lord. It's like my ability to spell a word inside my head, it's like I would get, and it wasn't complex words. It was the stupidest, is there 2 N's in that or 1 N in that? Is there 2 P's in that? And it was because I was used to autocorrect just doing it for me,
I mean, I think I'm very grateful that I'm probably one of the last generations who grew up without computers as an everyday thing. Like they came into school in my, what we call sixth form, so 16, 17, 18 years. Most of my university work was handwritten. We had computer rooms. We didn't have, networked rooms.
Yes,
like
yes.
And I think that's a real privilege to have had, because it gives you the really good foundation. And again, I love computers. I love that I can talk to you from across the pond right now, thanks to computers. I couldn't have done that 20, 30 years ago. But how do we preserve these things? And again, the cognitive reasoning, scratching that itch, these are all important things for our well-being. Yeah. Even writing as opposed to typing. Writing is far better for you than typing is from a cognitive point of view. But we live in a fast-paced world where everything is now, and the demands we have in the office are crazy. It is a struggle for everybody. And we just need to figure out what it is for me as an individual that works to keep my brain thinking, my brain functioning, whilst also keeping up with the fact we've got in this modern world where it demands us to be on computers.
Absolutely. And I want to end the show here by going back to something you said earlier, because it's resonating in my head. And I want any and everybody who is listening to this or watching this, whenever you do, is something you said, that if it works for you, then it works, right? There's no one size fits all when it comes to finding your ways to recharge, your ways to self-maintenance, your ways to manage through whatever it is that you're working with. Go on that search, go out there. And I'm going to tell you, call up Pippa, right? Get to the website there. Is there a better one other than Honeycomb that you would, if people want to reach out to you?
Yeah, my main one's Philippa Bagley. Honeycomb, I don't really use Honeycomb much anymore, I have to say. Only because it's all under Philippa Bagley. Or find me on social media, Philippa Bagley. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, normal places.
Let me, I just want to throw this up here. Oh, yeah. Oh, so just look up, just look up that. Let me put your full name there, and it'll find you. Philippa, did I spell it right? Yes, I did. I didn't even need autocorrect.
I mean, my name is not wrong a lot, so you're doing very, very well.
That's right. Yeah, just search there, folks. If you have questions for Pippa, Pippa. I can't thank you enough. You have absolutely taken the top seat of my favorite guest that's been on here, and I want to have you come back, because we could probably be talking for like hours on end. But what we'll do in the next times, if it's okay with you, I would love to have you come back, and we'll just kind of narrow in on some topics here, because I would really like to explore more on the just the psychotherapy side. I love some of the things you said about not sticking so much in the past, but talking about solutions, right? That's what you're aimed with, is how do we, to me, that's just boots on the ground right there, right? I mean, that's putting the rubber to the pavement and figuring things out. And if we could figure out a way to do it in a live setting, that would be amazing. I'll do a special time. I'll talk to Adam and we'll get on a special time. That way you're not up at 3:00 in the morning or whatever. But that way some of our viewers and listeners can chime in and ask questions and such. That would be super cool if you're down for something like that.
Absolutely my privilege to come and support you doing that. Thank you.
That's awesome. Well, I can't wait to get on your show as well. That's coming up. What do we have? That's like end of November here.
I think so. Yeah, it's in the calendar.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep, just put it out. I know it's on the calendar. It's going to be all right. I can't wait for that. That's called your podcast is called A Journey
to Purpose.
Journey to Purpose. That's right. That's right. And you're like in the top 10% category, your podcast. You're like,
yeah, apparently. I keep getting told this. So that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, we're small potatoes over here. Like I'm the bottom 10% here on that top 10%.
No, I mean, it's all relative, isn't it, in the internet world, though? Because I think the leap from 10 to 5 and 5 to, these are, you go from like the hundreds to the thousands to the tens of thousands. So but anyway, yes, it seems to be doing okay.
That's awesome. Good stuff. Thank you again so very much. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Hopefully that storm goes by and you guys are all good. And your cat.
It's rain.
Your cat that was still perched above you there. He wasn't the one that was meowing. It was the one that got on your desk, I think, that was meowing, isn't it?
They both did at different points. I've got 3 cats. 2 of them are Bengals, and because again, we grow a lot of our own fruit and veg, and they are brutal murderers. They kill the mice that pass through, and then they come in and complain about everything, and then they settle down. So it was very you had a full day, almost of all my animals.
And it was such perfect timing. Lucy was, here's my toy, and then the cats were like, yo, wait a minute. Awesome. Thank you again so very much. You have an awesome night. We appreciate you coming on here, and I can't look forward to doing some more in the future.
Thank you ever so much, Gene. Thank you for having me.
All right. Take care. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. We're going to wrap it up here. Again, this was a recorded episode. That's why we're not responding to you. But please leave your comments in the video. Let us know if you have any questions, any comments. You can reach out either way through us direct or throw a comment in here. And when I see it, I will reply there. And if there's a question you have for Pippa, just throw it in there and I'll make sure she sees that. I'll connect her up with that. All right, that should do it. You know the routine, folks. Tight lines, be safe, take care of each other.